Artificer. You feel a desperate need to be different. When you were creating your first character, you googled how to make sure I don't play a class that anyone else is going to play. And it paid off. You've never changed since, and you use the exact same build every single time, because why would you spend time trying to figure out how the hell this class works? You also hate fantasy and you wanted to play the cyberpunk TTRPG, but your friends wanted to pretend to be wizards and knights. Either all of those things or you have autism. Barbarian. You're either a veteran D&D player who can't be bothered with combat that drags and are really just along for the role-playing aspects, which is why you have a weirdly high charisma score for a barbarian, or you think you're much smarter than everyone around you and try to look humble by playing a low intelligence class. In real life, you don't try to solve your problems. You just ignore the pain until it becomes too much, and then you either go full American or full American. Bard. I can't even think of a joke you haven't made about yourself to hide the pain from having no friends. Blood Hunter. Either you thought rogues weren't edgy enough, or you think you'll be allowed onto an episode of Critical Role if you play this class enough times. You don't form your own opinions on things, instead you look up videos or Reddit threads about what to think of the latest games releasing, which has unfortunately led you to worshipping people like Asmongold. Cleric. You grow up in a religious household and try to show your frustration at your religion through playing a flawed cleric who struggles with their faith. You're constantly stuck in a struggle between being a genuinely good person and trying to be worse just to not seem religious. You heal your party to heal your own pain from being a disappointment to your parents. Druid. You either look like this or like this. There's a 46% chance that you were a horse girl growing up, and while you're self-aware enough to be ashamed of that now, you still believe that horses are more emotionally intelligent than humans. You also spend all of your time inside reading about being outside instead of actually going outside. Fighter.
You're either the most boring person in existence or one of the most interesting D&D players anyone will ever meet.
Your name might be John Smith and your favourite character is Aragorn, and you try to behave like him in real life too, until you're reminded that being courtly won't pay off your massive debt and you go back to being a grumpy stereotype. Monk. You shop on Temu since you clearly don't care about good quality, but you're a friendly enough person who's always down to do whatever just to have a good time with friends. There's a small chance you have an unhealthy obsession with martial arts movies, but since you're so good at not being in the spotlight, no one actually seems to know this about you. Paladin. You might just be a fascist carrying out the power fantasy. You may think you're a committed lover or friend, but in reality, you're a walking red flag with massive control issues. If you could, you would look up all your friends and family just to make sure they're safe.
You can put your mind to anything and it will genuinely get done very efficiently. But does it come at a price that's too great? Ranger.
You really wanted to be a druid, but when you looked into it, you realized it's much too complicated for your simple brain, so you decided to pick up a bow and arrow. Your favorite book is The Hunger Games, but you don't understand why Katniss shot coin at the end. You grow attached to people very quickly, but never feel like you're worthy of their time, which is why you connect to nature so much, but not enough to sleep in a tree. Or with one.
Rogue.
People assume you're a walking stereotype, but in reality you've had to deal with such a minimal kit for such a long time that you've been forced into being one of the most creative people in the world. You think the role-playing aspect of the rogue is much more interesting than the gameplay, as it allows for some of the most surprising characters. At the end of the day, however, you're probably rich and you try to hide it by playing a thief in a game. Sorcerer. You absolutely love fantasy, but you haven't touched a book since you were 14. You keep complaining about the lack of original magic systems in fantasy media and have been trying to start writing your own 1700-page fantasy novel with revolutionary magic for the past 6 years. You don't really try to create different personalities for your different characters, but your own personality is charismatic enough to carry you through most campaigns.
Warlock.
You're completely incapable of forming any sort of real-life relationship, so you pretend to be committed to your patron in D&D. But even then, you're constantly trying to get out of your deal with Fantasy Satan to respec into a sorcerer. You wear dark band clothes and try to come off as edgy, but in reality, you're just a big softie, and we love you for it. Wizard. People think sorcerers are the nepo babies, but in reality, it's you, hiding behind a false beard and a grumpy chuckle. The only reason you even have the time to memorize every single spell in D&D history is because you have no need for a job, as daddy bought you a house for your 18th birthday as an excuse to kick you out. You have no issues with being a loner, as you have a hot girlfriend who puts up with all your rambling about how much you genuinely care about social issues. That definitely isn't with you just for your money.